So let's roll right along. Again, my name is Richard Augustus. I call myself a futurist. I'm an affiliate marketer. I have a degree in IT, and I went on to do my bachelor's with Endicott College. Again, glossary of terms, go ahead and get that. I will be getting to the employment part, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie some other things into this bigger picture of technology and this revolution that we're on. But teachers, you are the architects of Bermuda's future, and I applaud you. It's my honor to speak to you today, because you shape the future, right? And we're talking about a new technology here, and it's important for us to educate our young people and adults about this new technology. Recently, the government has been pushing this narrative for a while and chasing this revolution. Mr. Keynes here has asked me to talk about these things at several public forums, and it was my honor to talk to the constituents in various places around the island. But he says it's the responsibility of us to recreate a Bermuda where everyone can thrive. This government understands that we must move quickly into cryptocurrencies to create new and legitimate opportunities for the medians. Here's another quote that I found poignant. The power of blockchain technology is that it can algorithmically enforce private agreements and community principles at a global scale by shifting the course of trust and coordination to the network. This is what allows blockchain to create new markets where they couldn't exist before, rather for political or economic reasons. To do this, we must be able to trust the blockchain and trust that no one controls it. Here are some of my teachers. A lot of the stuff that I'm giving you today are from people that I read, I listen to, and pick your teachers carefully, right? And here's some of my notable ones. And today's lecture is going to be more talking about things surrounding the blockchain. There's some other things that are happening in the world today that are fueling this revolution. And one of these teachers is Dr. Chris Martinson, who wrote a book called The Crash Course, right? He says that massive change is upon us. It's not coming. It's not somewhere in the future. It's happening right now. Here's one of his graphics that I like from his book. Everything's interconnected and interrelated. I'm going to be talking more about the economy today, but there's other overlapping areas that this economy is affecting, right? And there's some problems surrounding these three factors. He calls it the 3 E's: energy, the economy, and the environment. And there's some problems here. The national failure to save. It depends what you're saving with, right? I save in another type of commodity. I don't save dollars. And you'll see what I mean by that in a few minutes. There's an aging population. There's resource depletion in the environment. There's a global credit collapse. Remember 2008? The major credit collapse in the United States and affected us here in Bermuda too. There's an exponential money growth that he talks about. And it's just high level what he talks about. And the pursuit of our energy system, which is fossil fuels, is affecting the environment. Here we have a global warming problem. I believe it to be real. There's some people in power that are denying it. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that. But here we have a problem to correct this. That's one of my teachers. Also, there's the education. I added a 4th E, and that's your job to educate people, right? It's all connected to fixing these problems that we have. Here's another one of my teachers, Mr. Mike Maloney. He says the further you look back in the past, the more you can see into the future, right? I truly believe that you have to study economic history, and you can understand where we're going. If you're taking notes, write down that short code again, Hidden Secrets of Money. It's an 8-part series. I'm going to play for you a video of the 8th part. He is basically a girl guy, right? I'm a girl guy too. I like primary assets. Dr. Chris Martinson in his book talks about 3 types of asset classes. Primary assets, secondary assets, and tertiary assets. Tertiary assets are things like paper claims to wealth. Like the money that we call money in our pockets, it's a claim to wealth. It's not wealth itself. Because we all work for it, But I don't want money at the end of the day. You can't take it with you. I want resources. I want the house, the lifestyle, the cars. I want stuff that the money can give me, right? And anything can be money. It's what we have agreed upon, that these little triangular pieces of paper are our monetary value, our monetary exchange of wealth, right? Of labor, I should say. So here's a good one. Let's listen to his 8-part.
Today, mankind stands at a crossroads, and the path that humanity chooses may have a greater impact on our freedom and prosperity than any event in history. In 2008, a new technology was introduced that is so important that its destiny and the destiny of mankind are inextricably interlinked. It is so powerful that if captured and controlled, it could enslave all of humanity. But if allowed to remain free and flourish, it could foster unimaginable levels of peace and prosperity. It has the power to replace all financial systems globally, to supplant 90% of Wall Street, and to provide some functions of government. It has no agenda. It's always fair and impartial. It cannot be manipulated, subverted, corrupted, or cheated. And it inverts the power structure and places control of one's destiny in the hands of the individual. In the future, when we look back at the 2.6 million year timeline of human development and the major turning points that led to modern civilization, the creation of farming, the domestication of animals, the invention of the wheel, the harnessing of electricity, and the splitting of the atom, the 60-year development of computers, the internet, and this new technology will be looked upon as a single event, a turning point that will change the course of human history. It's called Full Consensus Distributed Ledger Technology, and so far, its major use has been for cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, but its potential goes far, far beyond that.
So that's his introduction to his 8th part of his financial education series. It talks about this whole revolution we're upon. Another one of my teachers is going back a long time ago in the 1980s. I picked up this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, encouraging entrepreneurship, right? And getting out what he calls, again, this is for savers, losers, that link right there. He's famous for the cash flow quadrant. I'm now working at BEDC, and we encourage small business ownership. We train people to be in this part, an employee, right? Small business owner, that's when you progress into be a self-employed person. That's where you earn a job, right? Not that you have a job, you earn it, right? But I like this part of the cash flow quadrant myself. I like to be a system earner, big business owner, have a system working for me to build assets. And this is the ultimate goal for me, to be an investor where my money works for me instead of me working for my money, right? I truly believe that, because 95% of the wealth is on this side of the quadrant, 5%. That's just a high level one of my teachers before I get into the real. Let's get to the real rules of money. I was supposed to not show this, but let's show it anyway.
So the third new rule of money is, I think the big mistake is, I hear so many people say it's important to save. That's ridiculous. And the reason that's ridiculous is because what happened in 1971 is crucial. In 1971, the US dollar stopped being money. In 1971, the US dollar became a currency. And what that meant is Richard Nixon, in 1971, the president, took us off the gold standard. That's like giving an alcoholic free rein to the bar, or is like giving somebody who can't control their spending unlimited credit cards. So what's happening is all the savers today are losers. You know, the problem with 1971 is that the federal government keeps printing money, so the value of your money keeps going down. So these people are saving, and if you notice, as the value of the dollar goes down, prices go up. So they call this inflation. You know, you look at in 1997, oil was about, I think, $10 a barrel. 10 years later, it's about 135 a barrel. So they say it's inflation, but really what it is the dollar's value coming down. So savers are getting wiped out today. So just keep saying to yourself and to your kids to save money. That is not the new rule. That's an old rule. So a very big problem for most people is stop using the word save and use the word hedge. You've got to hedge your money, hedge against losses. Like when I buy a stock, I put a hedge in. I put a stop loss or a put inside of it or a call, whatever I'm doing. I want to stop it. So today, I don't save money, I'm hedging. So in 1997, I started investing in oil, gold, and silver.
I didn't play all of that. I was supposed to not show that, but it was pretty interesting nevertheless. Here's another one of my teachers, Jeremy Rifkin. Zero marginal cost, right? Society, the rise of the collaborative commons. This feeds into what I'm going to be talking about at the end, which is like, where are the jobs in this whole paradigm shift? This book is called Zero Marginal Cost Society. And here's his video. Let me just show you his mindset.
We have to change consciousness. We have to move from a geopolitical, ideological frame to biosphere consciousness in order to have the narrative and the vision and the determination and the will and the drive to move ahead instead of through fear backing up to the 20th century. We have enough distributed energy to provide for our species until kingdom comes. The European Union has committed itself to a 5-pillar infrastructure for a third industrial revolution. I was privileged to develop the plan with the EU. It was formally endorsed by the Parliament in 2007. Pillar 1, the European Union is committed to, as you know, 20% renewable energy by 2020. That means a third of the electricity in Europe has to be green. That's a mandate, not a suggestion. Everyone has to do it. Pillar 2, you convert every single existing building into your own green micro power plant. So you can get sprinkler tenants to capture the sun on the roof, vertical wind to capture the wind off the sidewalls of your building, geothermal heat pumps under the ground, garbage converted back to energy, the roads. Big centralized power utility companies today think the next 20 years everyone's going to have their own power plant. Just like we produce information, we now produce our own energy. And there are already millions of people doing it. And the minute we start Pillar 1 and 2, we have millions of jobs overnight. In Germany, they created hundreds of thousands of jobs just in the first few years, only in Pillar 1, and now Pillar 2, they've created more. Then the question is, how do we store the energy? Pillar 3, as the sun isn't always shining here in London, it's enough. But we're putting most of our emphasis at the center of the storage network in hydrogen. Simply as the basic element of the universe, is what we're made of. It carries other energies. And it's completely transformable from one form to another, carrying energy. And it's modular, so you can put little hydrogen storage technology in your flat or a big utility farm. Pillar 4, this is where the nervous system of this new infrastructure is created, where the communication revolution, the internet, merges with distributed energies. We take off-the-shelf internet technology, off the shelf. We take the transmission and power grid of the European Union, and then every continent in the world, and we transform that power grid to an energy internet that acts exactly like the internet. So when millions of buildings are collecting green energy on site, storing it in hydrogen, like we store media in digital, and then if you don't need some of that and someone else somewhere else needs it, your software can program it so you send that energy across that energy internet from the Irish Sea to the doorsteps of Russia. Pillar 5, transport. Electric vehicles came out this year. Hydrogen fuel cell cars, buses, and trucks in mass production in 2014. Daimler, GM, Toyota, already in production. We'll be able to plug in our electric and fuel cell vehicles anywhere in the infrastructure and get green electricity from our buildings. Then wherever we travel, we can stop, connect back into the grid, and get electricity Well, let's say you're at home studying, and your car's sitting out there. Program the software on the computer, and if the electricity goes up on the grid, it'll click on your computer, and you'll sell your electricity back to everybody else. You make money while you're doing nothing. It's the synergies between the 5 pillars that create the infrastructure, the nervous system for a new paradigm. We democratize the ability to share information at almost zero transaction costs around the world. That's dramatic. But it's only part 1 of the story. Part 2 is when that internet technology democratizes energy and makes it so cheap that we can share collaboratively across continents like we share information online. Then we have a revolution. There are future generations of human beings and creatures not yet here. They deserve their moment in a flourishing planet. Our job is to make sure that they have that moment in the sun.
Again, everything's interconnected. You're going to see that's why this is connected to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. We have a democratization of everything, even energy. There's enough solar power, and I know I'm digressing here. There's enough solar power that hits the Earth in an hour, on the total surface of the Earth, to power the entire planet for a whole year. So 1 hour of solar energy can, worldwide, when the sun's shining, can power the whole Earth for a whole year. That's amazing. So it's not what you know. It's not what you do with what you know, right? And when you know better, you do better. So let's impart some knowledge here in regards to blockchain and Bitcoin and things and digital assets like it. The beginning. In 2008, 2009, an anonymous person by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto put up a white paper on a mailing list, obscure mailing list, and it set up the ground rules to build this protocol that we know as the blockchain, right? And the first cryptocurrency was created, that's Bitcoin, right? That's the big, everybody's on everybody's lips right now. And the rest is history, so to speak. So what is this thing called blockchain? Well, we know blockchain as a technology that powers this thing called Bitcoin, right? But it's much more than that. We'll draw some examples today. It is actually more than one type of blockchain. There's multiple types. And blockchain is actually a suite of distributed technology, distributed ledger technology. That's what Mike Bellini told DLT, distributed ledger technology, that can be programmed to track anything of value, right? And these things of value can be things like financial transactions, medical records, land titles, and so much more. But you might say, actually, so we already have systems for this. We have databases, and we have banks and other storage mediums to do these sort of things. But let's break the narrative and see how we can get rid of those middlemen and transact with each other using the power of the blockchain. It's different because the way it tracks and stores data. Financial transactions or information is stored in these little containers called blocks, and they're linked together in a chronological order. Metaphorically, a chain of blocks, right? And these blocks are encrypted, they're immutable, they're unchangeable. And what you can't do is you can't go in there and try to change something in between. That doesn't happen, that's not allowed. Instead, you can only add to it. You can only add to the blockchain with new information. So block 84 was X changed to Y, and it's just a timestamp. And the nice thing about this her block right there refers back to the previous block with an unbreakable change with this thing called encryption or cryptography. It's the thing that empowers this. These blocks are sealed with encryption, and you can't change it. They're immutable. You can't change it. So back in the early times, we had this thing called ledgers, but now we have an indestructible way to track data changes over time. You can't change them. You can't edit, cut. There's no more cooking of the books. There's no more of these nefarious things that we see people go to jail for, right? So in this example, let's say Ann here and Steve. Steve has a problem with Ann because he thinks he owns the family property, right? So it's in question. But back in the day, in the early 1900s, we know that in a ledger, on some record somewhere in some government place, we know that Adam buys the property from Mary and he can't own this Adam. Adam kept that for a while, A couple years later, went to the Department of his registrar, and it changed hands. Dave buys it from him, and later on, in the 2000s, we have another entry where Ann buys it from Dave, right? The current order. Now we have present day, where in the system that we're used to, it's in some record file, keep somewhere, some pieces of paper somewhere. However, these systems work well for a while. There's a ledger method of recording information in a book, of a mainframe computer system. But now, because of blockchain, we could now place it in a decentralized and distributed system. And the way how this works is all of these computers have to agree that the balance is what the balance. Like, we can prove consensus right now. I'm right here standing, talking to you right now today, all of you, yes? You see me? And can anybody change your mind? What you have in your head is immutable. Nobody can convict you. That was not Mr. Richard Augustus speaking to you today. It was somebody else. It didn't happen. But so you imagine you're all on the blockchain, and your computer, you know what you have in your head is immutable, it cannot be changed. So these computers, they can be miles and miles apart from each other, they communicate with each other, and they fact check each other. So what can't happen is some nefarious bad actors, we like to call them, go in and try to change something. The other computers will know that there's a change. And so it can't happen. The second way is different, it creates trust in the data. Because of this system, in order for a block to be added to the chain, three things have to happen. One, a cryptographic puzzle must be solved to create that block. There's a game theory involved. There's computers have to compete against each other. It's a race to break this cryptographic puzzle to solve the correct balance, if you will. And the computer that does that solves the problem, shares its solution with the other computers on the network. Once it's solved and they all agree that that's the correct balance, it's called proof of work. And then a block is created. The reward for this computer right here, in the case of Bitcoin, is more Bitcoin. And you'll see a picture later on where you have companies building these, but not just one computer, but networks of computers to create more computing power to solve that cryptographic puzzle. It's actually a business for them, because the reward at the end of the day is a Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now stands about $6,700. In some countries, it's not viable to mine Bitcoin because your electricity costs are too much. Like in Bermuda, you wouldn't be able to do it here. As we know, we're having problems with that system right now. The third thing that needs to happen is the network has to verify the proof of work, like I said. And so once all those things happen, then you can add the block onto the chain. Now this block can contain a couple of transactions, not just one. It's a grouping of transactions that go inside the block. So with all these things, these complex systems and the protocols that are built in with the blockchain network, we can all trust and verify every single block on the chain as being correct and true because of this consensus model. Similarly, how I demonstrate to you that you all know I'm standing here, it's a consensus model that you all agree that I'm here, standing here, it's not an imposter, and I'm talking to you. So these all computers agree, and we can all agree that the block on the chain is correct. So Anne, if her stuff was on the blockchain, she could then go in and verify to her brother that everything is correct. Thirdly, there's no more intermediaries. Let's talk about this big one. Now traditionally, we earn our own data, we know our records, we know what we have in the bank, we know our land title deeds, and we keep them. What we do is we hire intermediary people, like banks or lawyers. That lawyer will verify and act as a go-between her and the other party. And he could say to him, Dave, that's right, Ann is the rightful owner of this property. We have these intermediary people. It eliminates exposure and risk, but the flip side of that, time and money. I don't know if you've been to your lawyer recently, but it can be quite an expensive proposition. So what Ann can do, she can cut out the middleman. Sorry, lawyer, check you later. And yeah, we can put stuff on the blockchain. We'll still need some custodianship. Maybe somebody to put stuff on the blockchain, like a lawyer, can be asked to put stuff on the blockchain, but once it's there, and it cannot be changed. So she can cut out the time and money factor, it's a cost saving, and she could be the owner, and she could choose to do what she wants to do with her data and share it with who she wants to share it with, amongst anything on a digital network, be it a computer, phone, tablet, anything like that. Oh, I got a glitch. So blockchain is a type of technology, not just a single network. There's different types of blockchains, different hybrids. There's public blockchains where everybody sees what's on the block. There's private blockchains. I know HSBC is working on a private blockchain just for the HSBC group, so they can move monetary value on the blockchain. There's hybrid, public-private, where some of the information is private, and then some of the information is viewable to the public. And then you have some people that the public can see everything, but only a certain group can add to it. So in the case of Anne again, she could put her land title information on the blockchain and be assured that everything's fine. Moving on from the blockchain situation, this goes back to some of my teachers, that we have a timeline with how we thought of money. Back in early times, we didn't have money. But from a biblical standpoint, let me go there, in the book of Genesis, one of the first things that God did, he told Adam where the girl was. So I questioned myself and said, why would he be telling Adam where the girl was? There was no 7-Eleven around the corner in Garden of Eden. Why would he? Anyway, that was just, I find that interesting. That's why I believe that gold and silver is God's money. That's going back to Robert Kiyosaki's talk. But then we have in ancient Africa, we had shells, cowrie shells. Then in Qing dynasty, we had the silver come about, and then we had gold come around. And then in ancient American history, gold was money. And actually, it still is in the United States Constitution, where it says the state shall mine nothing but gold and silver coin. But now we have a representation of wealth in paper money. Then we have the digital revolution come about. We have mobile wallets. We start using a little bit of transferring digital assets with our debit and credit card that's attached to the fiat currency system. And then we have the birth of cryptocurrency. In the future is going to be our digital wallets and this cryptocurrency. But what makes money money? It must be a medium of exchange, right? A unit of account. It must be portable, durable, fungible. It must have a store value. In the case of Bitcoin is a scarce alliteration of money because it's scarce. The limited supply of Bitcoin, there's 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist. Right now there's about 17 million of them in the world. And once the mining operation is done, which should be around the year 2150 or 2140, that'll be the end of Bitcoin mining as we know it. Now there's other cryptocurrencies out there, I'll talk about them in a minute. But Bitcoin of itself, and there's other cryptocurrencies, I'll talk about them in a minute, but most of them they're neutral, they're open, censorship resistant, they're borderless. This is the first global money, right? Take your Bermuda dollar to Egypt, they'll laugh at you. You can't use it there unless you go to a place that they can exchange it for you. It's created out of staking electrical energy. Remember those miners I talked about? It's electrical power that generates the mining operation. So the miners actually do two functions. They're actually doing it from a profit standpoint to mine more Bitcoin to be profitable. And two, they're maintaining the ledger, making sure that everybody has the correct balance in their wallets, right? So it takes a lot of energy and processing power. Some people call Bitcoin Gold 2.0. Here's a little table here that shows you the different traits of money. Like I said, I'm a gold guy. I like gold. I like crypto too. But the fiat U.S. dollar and other nation currencies, they have some yellow areas and red areas where it's not that great. And the word fiat comes from a Latin term, means let it be so. We agree that these pieces of paper have value, and it's usually by government decree, and we agree that it has value today, and we hope that it has value tomorrow, right? But the dollar, it really has allowed me to stand on my soapbox some more. That function of inflation, when we were coming up, a bag of chips was like 60 cents, 50 cents, depends how old you are. Nowadays it's $2.50 and half hours here. Is it because the potato chips cost more? No, it's because your dollar buys less over time. And so, as much as we need, and we educate our people to go work for this stuff, and we need it, the world is changing. I like old school money. I like gold and silver and any primary asset. As Dr. Chris Martin would say, primary assets is anything created by the creator. Gold, silver, diamonds, oil, things that come from the earth, right? Secondary assets are things that are created from natural resources, like the cars and the houses and stuff like that. And treasury are paper representations of wealth, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and paper currency that you have in your pocket. I like primary assets like gold. Crypto is a mathematical currency based on computer power. The only thing I see wrong with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and things like it, if they turned off the electricity and the internet, you can't use it, right? You can't use it if they turn off the electricity and the internet stops working. So that's what it's dependent on. So in a Mad Max type of world where there's chaos and somebody pressed the red button, right? And there's nuclear war and there's no type of infrastructure at all, cryptos wouldn't work. But in a perfect world, we can't live without the internet right now. We depend on it so much, and we can't live without this thing called electricity either. So as we move toward democratizing anything, and hopefully, just like with Jeremy Rifkin's model, talking about creating our own energy, right? With these renewable energy sources, hopefully we will have an infrastructure that can maintain this system of cryptocurrency. But let's move on from that. Here's a picture of the digital assets on an exchange or a coin market cap, not an exchange, but this gives you the market cap value of these cryptocurrencies that are out there. These crypto assets, there's something like 2,000 to 3,000 of them right now. And they're listed, this is updated on a regular basis at coinmarketcap.com. And this was taken a few days ago. Bitcoin, there's about, where's the circulating supply, is 17 million out there. And the current price in US dollars is 6,500. I think that's where it is right now. So the circulating supply times the price gives you the market capitalization of this particular asset. There's other ones with different niche properties. For example, Ethereum, is a very special type of cryptocurrency. The nice thing about Ethereum is that you can embed in it what's called smart contracts. Remember I talked about the land title registry, where you can put your land title registry on the blockchain? Well, we'll probably be attached to an Ethereum-based protocol. And there's other ones here. This list is very extensive. It goes on to maybe 2,000 to 3,000 different types of coins. Will they all last? I don't know. There's nation states and countries coming up with their cryptocurrencies. Everywhere where there's currency pressures, for example, Argentina, their paper currency devalued so much that you literally had to go to the grocery store, if you could find food, there's shoe boxes full of these paper notes. The same thing happened in Zimbabwe. Venezuela, correct. And it's happening everywhere where there's currency pressures. People are adopting these cryptocurrencies because it doesn't need it's peer-to-peer. In other words, we can sell value to each other as easy as we send emails to each other, right? But let's look at email, for example. When I send you an email, it's only a copy, right? It's only a copy of the email. And it can be duplicated over and over. You can forward. We do that with WhatsApp all the time. We get our news very fast through WhatsApp. Everybody has a copy of the gossip, right? Faster than the newspapers can keep up with it, right? But in the case of these cryptocurrencies, there's uniqueness in it. There's only one of them. And so through this system, we see a democratization of money.
So how would you like to get paid to stay fit? Magmeet Susie Steimel shows us how a popular new app rewards you for every step.
Ed Sue is being paid right now for every step he takes.
Yeah, it's starting. It keeps
County.
Not in US dollars, but in Sweatcoin. It's an app aiming to rival Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency.
The whole idea behind Sweatcoin is that physical movement has a value to our economy.
Sweatcoin got its start 3 years ago and has suddenly taken off. It's consistently in the top 10 free apps on the App Store, has 7 million users, and investors who recently shelled out $5.7 million in funding. Every 1,000 steps gets converted into 1 Sweatcoin. Users can only earn 5 Sweatcoin a day, and for now, Sweatcoin can only be redeemed for participating products on the app.
You can get an iPhone 10, for example, for I think something like 10 or 20,000 coins.
Sweatcoin intends to begin using blockchain technology similar to other cryptocurrencies this year. The team hopes Sweatcoin will soon be exchanged for much more than tech products and workout gear.
Our target is, going forward in the next 10 years, to be able to pay part of your taxes in Sweatcoins.
How do you make people feel secure about this as a future cryptocurrency when so many people question cryptocurrency as an idea?
We believe that for crypto long-term to have a value, it has to be built on actual utility.
Rambier argues Sweatcoin is sustainable because of its public health benefits.
When people walk more, it makes us not only healthier and more productive, it also saves society costs in healthcare.
One of the biggest knocks against Sweatcoin right now is that it doesn't catch every step you take inside. That's because it uses GPS technology, so your treadmill workout definitely won't count. But developers say this is the best way for them to prevent cheating.
If we try to count indoors and remove GPS, then users would be able to earn this currency just by shaking their phone about.
A better pedometer is one of many things Sweatcoin hopes to improve in 2018. The team also hopes anyone curious about cryptocurrency but wary of investing any real money will pour in a little sweat equity instead.
I think I'm gonna finally lose some weight. I picked it up to demonstrate the utility coin aspect. There's a lot of coins that have its niche area. There's actually, and I'm talking about it in a minute, there's some Bermudian companies that have done this quite well. And so I find that quite amusing. I threw up my treadmill last night. Anyway, back to Binance. There's a company, there's a whole trading aspect, what's going on right now. There's a lot of speculators in the market right now. Wall Street is finding this whole industry as speculative. They are making it very volatile, if you will. The markets are very dangerous right now. They can move up and they can move down very fast. There's a lot of pump and dumps going on. The most recent one of that is JP Morgan recently. The guy Jamie Dimon, who's in charge of the company, was on a talk show. And he said, oh, Bitcoin's a scam, it ain't gonna work, it's not happening, He went on and on. But in Belgium, partner company, because when he talks, people listen, and what happened is the market dropped. Guess what happened in Belgium? They bought it up. They bought it up big time. And the market rebounded, because they knew he was gonna say it. He made millions. And now they're actually working on financial products for their investors to get into this. But a few months ago, he was calling it bad. A lot of shadiness going on in this market. But anyway, that's the current price of Bitcoin right now. Here's some other things with Binance. Binance is in the news actually. They're one of the 41 odd companies that are looking at Bermuda to domicile here. So here we see an opportunity for job creation. People ask me all the time what type of jobs. I'll get into that in a minute. Here's another coin, Monero. It's about 109 against the US dollar. I don't like the US dollar. I really don't, you know. It's the biggest fiat currency, world reserve currency, it's the petrodollar. Go back and listen to Mike Maloney, go back and listen to Robert Kiyosaki, you can see what I'm talking about. But that's another lecture altogether. Here's Ethereum, right? A lot of trading going on. I'm a trader myself, I learned how to trade. I buy low, sell high. Just something to do on the side, make some money. It takes time, it never put in what you can afford to lose, so it's it's exciting and it's very risky. Look at it, went up 7% right there, 7%. I think that's overnight one, I think. So these digital assets, they're held in what's called digital wallets. We're used to going to Harbor Master and getting a nice leather wallet. Does it come with any money in it? No, it doesn't, right? And so the same thing with the digital wallets. There's different types of software out there. Some of them are multi-currency. You could hold Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum in that wallet. Now the wallet, it's not a physical wallet. It's just like it's an app that goes on your computer, on your phone, on your tablet, and it holds your monetary value for you. And the idea in the future is that when we go shopping, this is all we need. We need one of these, right? And you see it happening all the time. People you do it now. There's apps that use the fiat side of things. Apple Pay, for example. You could use US dollars to move currency around on this. But here we have a situation where we have the wallet embedded on your phone, and it holds your cryptocurrencies for you. Global currency. It's a software program that stores private and public keys and interacts with various blockchains to enable users to send and receive digital currencies and monitor their balances, right? So again, sending value over the internet is as easy as sending an email. It really is easy. So again, going back to what I talked about before, here's a physical example of what a Bitcoin mine. These are what the accountants look like in the future, right? The accountants are actually these mega computers chained up together in the daisy chain. Typically what they use now is graphic CPU cards that are specially programmed to do this cryptographic puzzles. And the first billion computer, the owners jump up for joy because they guess what? They just want a Bitcoin or some other asset. And this is called proof of work consensus model. There's other types of consensus models out there, proof of stake, and other ones. So again, the structure is game theory and consensus happens. This is just showing you some examples here. Here's the cost to mine one Bitcoin, right? Here's some of the values of what in each country, what it costs to mine a Bitcoin. Switzerland, $7,000. Trinidad and Tobago, $1,100. Who can answer me why you think that is? Why is it so cheap there?
They have that in oil.
Correct. You win the prize.
Oh.
They have that in oil. They have that in resources, right? So, it's all about resources, right? At the end of the day, there's primary assets. That's why I love them so much, right? Venezuela, again. Even though they have their currency pressures, their national currencies in crisis, look at what it costs to mine a Bitcoin. $531, right? Compared to the US, it went off the screen, but it's probably like $7,000. So it's a losing proposition in the United States right now to mine a Bitcoin because one Bitcoin is worth 6. So if it costs the mine is 7, the mining operation shuts down. And so we see a lot of that right now. A lot of the mining operations or the accountants have closed up shop because it's not profitable anymore. Will we see a rebound? Probably. I believe that the law of scarcity, right? There's 21 million Bitcoin in the case of Bitcoin. There's other amounts for different currencies, but not everybody on the planet can earn one. And because the law of supply and demand, right? Because of supply and demand, the price has to go up, regardless of all of the shenanigans that JP Morgan and the rest of them will try to do in the short term. I think in the long term, it will go to the upside, and as people start to wake up to the problems of the world today, this will be, it will be adopted. I believe personally that every starving child, every bullet that's shot, every bomb that's dropped, really has to do with money. It's less about religion and race, in my opinion, standing on my soapbox for exactly, right? It's business, right? And so we have a grassroots revolution, if you will, that's really going to change the planet. And that's why, going back to my original side, how everything is interconnected, the energy, the 3 E's, as I said, the energy, the environment, they're all interconnected. So let's talk about what's happening right here on this island. Here we have Horizon Communication. Horizon Communication is trying to set up an ISP, Internet Service, in Bermuda to compete with other companies here. They're based on a token, a cryptocurrency token, Horizon token, and he's doing what's called crowdfunding, if you will, So we could all be micro investors in his venture. Also, when and if he launches, you could pay for your services with the Horizon token or any other cryptocurrency. That's already there right there. Local company doing some big things in the blockchain space. Here's Nick Thompson. You might know his father. His father owns mailboxes, right? And Nick here, he also owns Scooter Mart. Scooter Mart was one of the first companies in Bermuda to accept Bitcoin to buy a bike. You may have seen it in the paper. And again, everything's based in US dollars, so the bike, actually the first Bitcoin transaction, little fact history right here, the first Bitcoin transaction back in 2009 was for 2 pizzas, right? 2 pizzas was purchased in Florida, and those 2 pizzas were something like 10,000 Bitcoin for the 2 of them. It's a $4 million pizza in US dollars. So I hope those pizzas tasted really nice. Anyway, so Viva is a company that's trying to do mortgage lending by crowdfunding. So we all could get together and I put $100 in, and we put $100 in, and what they do is they look for people that want to buy a home. So what we're doing through the Viva token is funding the mortgage lending process, as opposed to that person going to a bank and the bank getting that interest. Guess what happens? We as investors in the Viva get that interest payment instead of we get micro, just like we micro loaned it, we get micro cash flow back. So that's a local person doing big things with blockchain and fintech. Here's Binance, they're here. They're one of the 41 companies that have decided to set up shop here, or at least part of their business is here. Their compliance office is here. The KYC part of it, know your customer, and AML bits are domiciled here in Bermuda. He's signed an MOU with Champagne Zhao, the founder and CEO of the second largest cryptocurrency exchange. And they are here. The promise of jobs, at least 30, that's a report that remains to be seen. They're still going through some regulation. Again, here's another company, Mercedes Ventures. Robert here also owns Overstock.com. They have a memorandum of understanding as well to do some, fund some education initiatives here in Bermuda. So we'll see what happens with that one. DrumG, this is another recent one. This DrumG was formed in June 2017, and quite recently they partnered with Consensus, and Consensus founder Joseph Lubin injected $6.5 million into this company. And that picture was taken, I was there at that conference, and it was quite nice, and the announcement was made about DrumG being in Bermuda. So they're pretty much a collaboration, and they bring different companies together to do some collaboration type of projects in blockchain and fintech. So we shall see what happens there as well. Here's an interesting one, Sprint, local company that do shipping in Bermuda. They partnered with a company called CargoX. And what CargoX does is they have changed the bill of lading transfer system. The old way, you have to mail the bill of lading through couriers and travel. They have to end up in the country where the goods are going to end up. The goods get shipped by a boat from place to place, but the old way was sending it. This takes 5 or 6 days. Because of the trust thing, the trust consensus or the trust model within the blockchain, you could transfer the bill of lading on the blockchain, and you know that the bill of lading is correct because once you put in something that's true, it's true on the other side. So this takes like 20 seconds. So they partnered with Sprint, so that's awesome. Now Sprint is part of the blockchain phenomenon. So the title was talking about jobs and whatnot. And I think we're moving toward a world of what we call collaborative commons. We're gonna have to take care of each other as a people and have to take care of our planet. We have to learn how to operate and work together as people on the planet. It's less about race, it's less about the have and have-nots, and we're gonna see that flatten eventually. We're used to a hierarchical vertical system of wealth and wealth distribution. We're at 1% of the world's wealth. or most of the world's gonna have to help by 1% of the world's population. We're gonna see a revolution where cryptocurrencies and things like it on the blockchain is gonna make it more peer-to-peer and more flattening. So we're gonna have to take care of each other with the collaborative commons, right? That's what Jeremy Rifkin would say. We're gonna need, as we build out this infrastructure of the Internet of Things and the Internet of Value and the Internet of Energy and artificial intelligence, we need technical people. I know you guys, as educators, you know about STEM. We need to up our game on science and technologies and mathematics. We have to get our children ready to be part of this digital revolution. We're gonna need hybrid technology professionals, insure tech, med tech, legal tech. Going back to Jeremy Rifkin, we're gonna have to get involved with renewable energies and the engineers and installers to build up the energy, this energy internet. We're gonna need, a computer can't take care of our elderly and take care of us when we're sick. We're gonna need more people. Computer can't, the blockchain can't do that. So we're gonna need personal care and healthcare and elder care professionals. We're still gonna need the IT professionals, software and hardware people, the blockchain, computer language, folks and coders, all STEM trained, right? Closed system engineer, again, Jeremy Rifkin talks about our planet. We're destroying our planet through the fossil fuel and plastics in our ocean. We're gonna need closed systems. In his book, Zero Marginal Cost, he talks about having a closed system where the plastics are in a closed system. Instead of throwing it in the trash, we have it in a machine that converts it through 3D printing, and we can print other things right now in hand, right? 3D printing, that's something that's big. Robotics, that's gonna happen. Vertical farming and hydroponics, that's another thing that I see. It's gonna come about this whole revolution. It's all interconnected, folks. And so we are the architects of Bermuda's future, right, as educators. So let's build upon that and let's make Bermuda and the world a better place. Collaborative Commons is basically asset is valued over ownership, transparency over privacy, and collaborative and co-creation over competition. We're going to see the dawning of the day of capitalism, and we're going to see a rise of this sharing economy, right? That's what we're going to see. We're going to have to assimilate in this new sharing economy. It's a world of abundance versus a world of scarcity. Lateral wealth distribution instead of this hierarchical system where we see people at the top. I'll leave you with this video.
Do you remember the moment you realized that the world had changed? Let me tell you a quick little story that has nothing and everything to do with the future of our world and how you fit into it. In 1917, the United States faced a huge problem. They were working hard to compete in the industrialized economy, and there was a shortage. Not a shortage of oil or coal or other natural resources, a shortage of people, specifically obedient factory workers. The solution to this economic dilemma? It was an experiment of sorts. It hadn't been done before, until someone thought of it. Mandatory public school. Unfortunately, the initial purpose of the United States public school system was not to inspire children or generate scholars. And it wasn't created for dreamers, people who color outside the lines, break the rules, and challenge the status quo. The public school system of the early 1900s was invented to create a nation full of adults who would obediently do their jobs in the factory assembly lines. Teaching kids to sit in straight rows and scheduling the entire day with the ringing of bells wasn't by chance. Punishing those who didn't conform was purposeful. These were the skills they would need to join the labor force. Intentional or not, this early method of turning dreamers into workers was an investment in the nation's economic future. And it worked. This then led to several generations of productive, fully employed workers. But it isn't working anymore. Why? Our economy has changed. We don't live in an industrialized economy anymore. We live in a connected economy. Right now, there are more users on Facebook than there were people on the planet 200 years ago. Technology has made it possible for us to connect with people, ideas, and information from anywhere in the world instantaneously. And as a result, our economies have expanded from localized towns and communities to the entire world. We have globalized trade in nearly every way. In the past, the obedient, do-what-you're-told without question people were rewarded for working hard and putting their dreams aside in order to toe the line. They were given well-paying jobs that led to long-term careers. They were guaranteed pensions, benefits, and the promise that they would always be taken care of. And they were. But that promise is gone for most of us today. Even if you have a white-collar job, the majority of white-collar workers are still working in a factory. Instead of operating a sewing machine or welding a widget, they now push pencils, type on keyboards, or process paperwork. It's still factory work because the entire focus of the day is spent on increasing productivity, which leaves little room for creativity, spontaneity, or individuality. The educated, hardworking masses are still doing what they're told, but they're no longer getting what they deserve. Even if you do everything you are told to do today, graduate from high school, go to college, get a degree, work hard in whatever job you can find, if you're lucky enough to find one, you're not guaranteed anything. Companies are being forced to change or die right now. Layoffs happen much more often than job openings appear, and the highest paying jobs are disappearing or heading overseas at an alarming rate. If you have a job where your boss tells you exactly what to do, he or she will always find someone cheaper than you to do it. Did you know that the average length of a job today is about 4.5 years? Contrast that to the 1960s when it was 40 years. The connected economy rewards a different group of people. It rewards the people who see things differently, who don't conform, people who have ideas that no one else has, people who are willing to work hard but know that the old way of doing things is broken. The connected economy rewards you not for being a cog in the wheel of life, but for standing up and reaching out. The connected economy rewards the connectors. Whether it's connecting a person to a person, a business to a business to a product, or a product to a person, those who learn how to connect are the ones who will survive and excel in a connected economy. That is how the world has changed. It's not about to change, it already has. Things are different now, and they're not going back to the way they used to be. Look at Facebook. What's their product? It's you. Your network, your information, your ideas, they all have value. Does Facebook pay you for the money they make selling your information to advertisers? No, but we still use it because we have an innate desire to connect with people. In fact, neuroscientists have found that we are actually hardwired to connect with each other. Some people know how to leverage this innate ability in today's economy, but most don't. And because they don't know how to do it, most of them are paralyzed with fear, resisting the shift, despite clear indications telling them it's time to change. In 1917, a group of people performed an experiment that forever changed the way that we earned a living. The world today is facing another huge problem. We're facing a shortage of our own. Not a shortage of factory workers or consumers. The world has enough of those. We have a shortage today of dreamers and connectors. And so, we're holding our own little experiment. And you happen to be the subject of it. This 8-minute presentation was specifically designed to seek out and find the connectors around us. Those who recognize that we are on the brink of the next economic revolution, who are ready to thrive in the connected economy, and who are searching for the best way to do it. The internet and technology are rapidly changing the way that we do everything today, including how we make a living. It's not too late to embrace the change and find a way to make yourself relevant and profitable in our brave new world. And that's why we've invited you here today, We've created something that rewards you for connecting. It pays you for bringing people together behind a cause, product, or idea.
And I want to thank you. And so, a lot of the concepts I brought today, I wanted to make it kind of, I know I jumped from place to place, but again, it's all about the connections, it's all about interrelationships. And I think that this whole blockchain revolution, this whole technology revolution is on a precipice to really change the world. So again, the best investment you can make is an investment in your financial education. Keep on learning, keep on reading, because things get redundant really fast. You have to continuously educate and impart this onto the kids that you touch. Instill with them a joy of learning, a joy of discovery, and it's a lifelong journey, and it moves very fast. Technology, I'm BlackBerry certified. Who has a BlackBerry? It's crazy, right? And so at this time, I'd like to thank the Bermuda Union teachers for inviting me today, and I invite questions for the next couple of minutes. If I can't answer them, glad to. The mic's over there.